Okay, good morning. Welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun with Benzion. Today's daf is Nazir daf Lamed Zayin. If you're wondering about the different background I have, they're under daf Yom Yishir. If you watch the daf Yom Yishir also, which you should be watching, uh, um, they kicked me out of the other room, so I have this room. The reason I didn't use this room in the beginning is because some Lubavitch or Chassid over here who has a yarmulke that says the Rebbe is Mashiach. So he feels like he could just take over rooms and daven until 11:30 during the day, and he's awfully difficult to deal with. So I don't even start up with this guy because why get into an argument? All right, let's Iyun Benzion. Today I want to just discuss what we talked about yesterday and also a couple days ago. Rabbi Kiva in the Mishnah, afilu shara pita b'yayin. This is the halacha, right? Mishras teaches me that even if you dip your bread in wine, according to the art scroll, right, you're chayiv. Not only are you chayiv a kazayas, which is normally the share for drinking wine is a revius. Now you dipped your bread in wine, so the share is a kazayas. Not only is the share kazayas, but also heter mitzaref l'isser. We learned yesterday that the heter, the bread, joins together with the isser. So if you had, according to what I was explaining yesterday, 51% of the kazayas, right, 0.51 ounces is wine, and 0.49 of the kazayas of the 1 ounce is bread. The volume of bread is 0.49 ounces. So you stuff it into a little shot glass, and it'll be about half of wine and half of bread. That would combine, even though bread is mutter for Nazir. Heter mitzaref l'isser. Mishras teaches me heter mitzaref l'isser. Now I've explained many times that I don't believe that's the explanation. I don't believe Mishras means that people actually dip their bread in wine. It's disgusting. No one would ever do such a thing. I explained that Shara Pita B'yayin, according to Rabbi Kiva, means that you drank wine with the bread to help you digest the bread. The Chiddush is, according to Rabbi Kiva, that even though normally you're ever drinking wine, now you're drinking wine. You're not dipping your bread in wine. You're dripping wine. You're drinking wine. So, but the fact that you're doing it to help digest the food, right, because bread is hard to go down your throat so easily, and also digesting your stomach is pretty dry. So therefore, the shear for the wine, you have to drink a revius, a kazayas of wine, 1 ounce of wine, as opposed to a revius, which is normally 3 ounces, according to Graf. Now, 3 ounces, 1 ounce is opposed to 3 ounces. But it's not combining. So the question I had yesterday is that we've tried to prove heter mitzaref l'isser, the whole discussion heter mitzaref l'isser. Mishras teach me heter mitzaref l'isser. What do you mean? It's not heter mitzaref l'isser, right? The shear, the entire isser is from the wine, the kazayas of the wine, right? The bread is not mitzaref l'isser. I explained yesterday, because I didn't see today's daf yet. I didn't remember. I don't know if I ever learned Nazir, the second half of Nazir. I stopped learning Nazir on daf Lamed Aleph or something like that. So I've never really even learned this Gemara before. So, so I thought the pshat was heter mitzaref l'isser, meaning it helps bring down the shear. Normally, if you drank wine by itself, you have to drink a revius. Heter mitzaref l'isser, by eating the bread together with the wine when you drink it. So you drink the wine together with the bread. So therefore, the share is a kazayas, 1 ounce as opposed to 3 ounces. But today I don't have to say that anymore because now the Gemara made it very clear to me. The Gemara searches for the source of Rabbi Akiva. How do you know Rabbi Akiva holds heter mitzaref l'isser on Lamed Zayin and Aleph in the middle? So the Gemara asks, "Hi Rabbi Akiva," basically in the middle. I don't know. It's like 15 lines up. Hi Rabbi Akiva. Which Rabbi Akiva do we learn heter mitzaref l'isser? Yom Rabbi Akiva the hacha of our Mishnah. The son of Rabbi Akiva Omer afilu shara pita b'yayin v'yishbok the saraf kazayas chayav. Omay dema hu de'ik kazayas ba'ena. Maybe that's talking about that's a kazayas by itself. Now, according to the article, the way I explain this is where you're dipping your bread in wine, and on top of the bread there's a revius, somehow a revius, not a revius, a kazayas, 1 ounce of actual wine is on top of the bread. So maybe it's not because of that bread is mitzaref to the wine. It's the fact that you're drinking a kazayas of wine, an ounce of wine. What's the chiddush? This is basically what I said yesterday, right? I mean, according to the way I explained it, is that the chiddush is that normally you have to drink a revius 3 ounces. Here you drink 1 ounce, and you drink it on the bread because you're eating it. You're eating the bread with the wine, so it's achila. The shir of achila is a kazayas. So therefore, you're drinking kazayas of the wine, which is right according to the way I would explain it. Right? Maybe it means, maybe there's a kazayas be'ena. Maybe it means that heter mitzaref l'isser is the way I explained it yesterday. This is the way I explained it yesterday. They drink kazayas of wine with the bread, whatever amount of bread you're eating, and you're drinking kazayas of wine. And the chiddush is heter mitzaref l'isser, that it makes it a shir of achila, not a shir of shtia, of drinking. The Gemara says, but that's not called heter mitzaref l'isser, which is really what I was bothered by yesterday. It's not really called heter mitzaref l'isser. It's the heter joins with the isser to make it a smaller shir, but it's not that the actual bread joins with the isser. Now the Gemara makes it very clear. El Rabbi Akiva the Brisa, bring a new Rabbi Akiva, the son of Rabbi Akiva, Omer, Nazir shara pita b'yayin, v'achal gazayis, and pasim yayin chayiv. He says it very clearly. You eat a kazayis combined with passing yayin. According to the Art Scroll, it means you dipped your bread in the wine, and the bread plus the wine form a kazayis together. According to my explanation, it also makes sense that it means that you drank, let's say, a little more than half an ounce of wine, and you ate together with it a little, around a half an ounce of bread. So you don't have to even drink a full kazayas. That's what shara pita b'yayin means. According to Rabbi Akiva, heter mitzaref l'isser, shara pita b'yayin, yes, you're drinking wine. Now you're not dipping the bread in the wine. You're drinking wine to help digest the bread. But the chiddush of heter mitzaref l'isser, Mishras tells me that when I'm doing that, the shir is a kazayas. And also, right, not only is it a kazayas, but also heter mitzaref l'isser, also included in the word Mishras is that the bread actually combines for the kazayas. Not that you dip the bread in the wine, but that you ate a little bit of bread, around half an ounce of bread, and you drank a little more than half an ounce of wine. So together they form a kazayas, even though you don't have a full ounce of wine. That actually is heter mitzaref l'isser, but not because you dipped it in the wine. It's because together, right? It's called one unit because you're using the wine to help digest the bread. So it's one thing. That's why it's a shir achila. Heter mitzaref l'isser teaches me, and Mishras teaches me that you can combine heter mitzaref l'isser. You can combine, and really that's what the Rabbanan really argue about. The Rabbanan really, according to the Rabbanan, they learn Mishras to teach me tam ke'ikar. The reason they don't learn like Rabbi Akiva, the Rabbanan, just to include this in the shir, the reason the Rabbanan argue on Rabbi Akiva, we don't pass like the Rabbanan, we pass like Rabbi Akiva in the Mishnah. The reason they disagree with him is because, fine, Mishras teaches me that we're talking about a case where you drink, according to me, you're drinking wine to help digest the bread. But who says heter mitzaref l'isser? Maybe you actually need a kazayis. Pardon, it makes a shir of achila, but you need a kazayis of wine. Who says heter mitzaref l'isser? Mishras means to tell me that maybe it's more reasonable to assume Mishras means to help digest lishrot ochel shemamea, right? Not to dip in tam ke'ikar, to soak grapes in water. But they didn't want to learn like that because heter mitzaref, who says they join together? That was the problem the Rabbanan had with Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva had a different source for tam ke'ikar, so therefore he learned Mishras, teach me that, to you dip it in, and obviously he felt it was obvious if you eat bread with wine, if you have a kazayas of wine itself, that's obvious, so therefore it must be teaching heter mitzaref l'isser. The bread can combine with the wine to form a kazayas when you drink the wine to help digest the bread. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.